Hi, I'm Walter. I'm the Dutch mentor. Welcome back to the S.M.A.R.T Performance Podcast, where S stands for self-care, M for mindful growth, A for adaptive problem solving, R for rhythmic operations, T for building a thriving community, and P, of course, for performance. One thing we know for sure that as we go on a journey in life, many transformations need to take place. Now, a lot of us don't make these transformations to bring the very best out of us, and that will be the topic for today. As always, I promise you it will be action-based, 15 to 20 minutes, and there will be tangible takeaways. And I'm very happy that Deb Yager is with me today, as she's going to lay out what her journey was like, and then, of course, give you some actions. Always go to the Apple Store, download the Dutch Mentor app, and go on your journey and take it to your advantage. It is 7 days free trial, and then only $50 a month. So it's only better than a cup of coffee per day, I suppose. Dad, thank you very much for being here today, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so much. So grateful to be here as well. So I am in the field of transformation. One of the modalities that I use is neuro-linguistic programming. Have you ever heard of it?
I have not. I'm very curious.
Yeah, so it's a study of the mind and body connection. So, a lot of us were like, okay, think positively, but then for some reason our behaviors doesn't add up or doesn't connect with that positive thinking, and or we don't reach our goals. And so it's the study of communication and language. So neuro-linguistic programming, so the science of language. So a lot of times why we self-sabotage ourselves is because we're communicating not effectively to ourselves. Meaning we have the internal critic, or what I like to say I used to have is the itty bitty shitty committee. That used to be the party pooper inside my mind. And it was a part of myself that was really trying to get self-worth through beating myself up. And then the other part is the programming piece. And so a lot of people may not be aware that your unconscious mind or your brain and your body connection has neuroplasticity. So that what that means is that you can rewire your brain for success. And so it's the study of that and how to do it very quickly.
Very, very interesting. I always talk a lot about upper brain and lower brain activities, as well as getting people to understand that 2/3 of your brain is actually negative. That goes to the itty bitty whining committee upstairs, as you talk about. And it does take practice. And kind of people underappreciate it. We talk a lot about IQ, we talk about EQ, but we really need to think and get a much better understanding of what that really means. So dive a little deeper. Tell us a little bit about your breakthrough, because obviously something happened that caused
Yes.
you to look into it deeper, and it made a real connection. And then talk a little bit more about some stories you can share with me.
Yeah, so I'll tell my own personal story. So my awakening happened in 2011, and I'm sure some of the people that are listening right now may feel the same way. I felt stuck, right? I was in a career that was completely wrong for me. I felt like I had to put on a mask to survive the day, and to be honest with you, I felt like my soul was leaving my body. And so, talk about stories I was telling myself with the power of the spoken word language. I used to say to myself, I hate my life. Right. And I also used to say that I am a loser magnet. And I didn't understand why. I would get into these really abusive relationships. And I would do the same pattern of I would move from town to state, expecting a different type of relationship and then attracting the same guy, different face, different name. And I didn't realize that I was casting a spell of that, as well as I was only attracting what I believed I deserved. And I also had a belief system that I was an addict, an alcoholic, whether it be food, drugs, alcohol, anything that I could fill this void that I felt inside, because deep down inside, I felt broken, disgusting, and unworthy. And the career I was telling you about, I was a stripper and I was a sex worker. And the first time I ever hustled a guy was when I was 16, right? And so I had gotten swept away into this industry all the way to 29 years old, winding up in jail, looking at my destiny. Could this be what I'm meant to be doing? Or worse, am I going to be on this planet any longer? Because I was really, really hurting health-wise because all the drugs I was using and all the decisions I was making. And so I remember asking for help to source intelligence, and very shortly after, two people came into my life who happened to be NLP trained. And then they guided me on the path that I am now. And then a year later, I met my husband. So I broke the pattern, the chains around that old construct that, I attracted the wrong guy because I did the inner work. And so the work that I do now is help people realize that they have choice. Because when you're in the hamster wheel of hell, or whatever you want to call it, the prison that you put yourself in, perhaps because you have good reasons, maybe the environment growing up or society, or maybe the abusive relationships pops up and you don't feel like you have choice. But when you realize at the end of the day, you have choice and you can be free, that's where freedom, transformation happens. And so that's what we help people do, is to stop the pattern and realize that they have the keys inside to get outside of their prison, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, no doubt. Listen, congratulations on that journey and for that
Thank you.
breakthrough. And happy that your bottom wasn't 6 feet under, right? And too many
Yeah,
people end up in the red wheel or in life sentence or die in the process of doing it. And as somebody who's been in the medical field for over 30 years, I've had too many people in that same predicament who did not make it, and very.
right.
For myself, I can identify with it too. I've been a friend of Bill W's for over 30 years. And two, I too had an opportunity to not have to hit rock bottom, but instead somebody literally said to me, sit down, shut up, relate, don't compare. And I think those were probably the wisest words anybody ever told me, is because we have this tendency that, well, I'm not as bad as you are, so that therefore I can continue on this path of destruction. And it wasn't
Right.
until I started saying, what does really relating and comparing mean? And that's really what I think that the neurosenses and they're really getting to understand and become more self-aware, that you can open yourself up and say, hey, there is something better. And I made the right connections at that point in time. And these people just appeared into my life. God only knows why. But it helped me, right? It helped me get through these very turbulent times as a young teenager, and set me on the right path going forward. So thank you for sharing that story. So tell me a little bit more about what it is that somebody who's listening to this, and remember the key thing to listen is you do not need to be in the gutter with a bottle of alcohol, drugs, or be a sex worker to relate to this. Many of you have little forms of this, maybe not to the extent that we are going to talk about, but you are impacted by this. Tell us what people can do. What action step can they take? What questions can they ask? Sit in front of a mirror and ask this question to see if you are on this path that needs to be broken, and to really live that fullest life that is possible.
Yeah, so at first for me, and this is what I said before, that it's the playing the game as if you have a choice. Whether it seems like that or not right now, if you play the game that you are at cause meaning that you're the creator of everything that's showing up in your life, and you can look at everything as a lesson. So I believe that everything in reality is a reflection. I think that everything is a reflection of something that's deep inside our unconscious mind. And so when you play this game, that all the things you're attracting in your life, whether it be the rock bottom or if it's somebody else getting the job that you did an interview for and you feel like you're disenfranchised, or it's you not speaking your truth to that person that activates or triggers you, there is a lesson inside of that, and there's a gift within the garbage. And so I truly believe all the adversity that we go through, whether it be big or small, it doesn't matter. There's always a lesson for you to grow and transform as a human being, as a soul, at a spiritual level. That's my belief system. And so when you look at it as like a game that you're here to play, to engage in these opportunities for growth, it makes it so less of a lot of people take it so seriously, right? It's like it takes the weight off our shoulders. It makes it more fun and playful. And when you come from a place of curiosity and playfulness of reality, then that place is where learning and transformation can take place. And once you start getting that wisdom, then you can get that inspired action going and then take action towards the future of what you desire. And so that's, for me, the couple of steps that people can take right now is making it a game.
So that's very powerful. But I want to go back, because one thing is that the barrier, and I tend to, with the people I work with, I see this more amongst men than women. Pride and ego gets into the way, right? Oh, not me. I'm not. Yeah, I'm not that bad. It's, what would you say to somebody who said, listen, slow down for a second. Look in the mirror, have that conversation with that itty bitty pity committee upstairs and listen to that.
Hmm. Yeah. So looking in the mirror, and I think a lot of people don't give themselves permission to even ask what they want, because most people are running on an operating system of what they've told they should be versus really looking deep within and asking, what do I truly want? And what is beyond the social conditioning of what is the right thing to do and what makes people happy? And so, one of the things I would suggest, and I think, you know, what's been happening right now, all the chaos and all the stuff that we've been going through as society as a whole, has been a beautiful experience in the sense is that it's had people look within and really sit still and ask, what do I want? What do I want in my relationship? What do I want in my career? Is this aligned with my values, which means the things that I think is most important? If it's not, let's have a conversation and figure out how we can get aligned in that. What do I want in my health? How do I want to live and thrive? And I think most people don't ask those questions because they're on the hamster wheel, right? They're living in feedback and reactive mode, and they don't give themselves time and space to really cultivate that desire. And once you figure out what the desire is, then you have very simple actions to go after it. But if we're sitting there in the seat of the blame game, meaning we're an effect of our reality and we think everybody's doing it to us, there is no place for empowerment. There's no place for power, and there's no place for you to take action in the spirit of inspiration. And so we have to ask ourselves, what are we getting out of being an effect, meaning being a victim? Because I got a lot out of being a victim. It's one of the things we help our clients do is realize that they don't have to be a victim. They have choice. They have freedom. Everything in your reality is going to work based upon how you perceive it. So how you perceive it is how you will receive it. And so you have choice at the end of the day of how you perceive any situation. And so going back to the learning, if you can look at reality as a place to teach you something about yourself, to grow and transform your soul, or you as a human being, as a leader in the field, you can choose to be empowered by that situation versus victim consciousness.
Yeah, I love that. Right, it is become victorious rather than being a victim to
Yeah.
your own demise, so to speak. The real question is that when people finally have kind of a sense that something is not right, and I usually say to people, I said, "How do you feel at 3 o'clock or 5 o'clock on a Sunday? If you feel like you're nervous and anxious and you hate to go back to work on Monday morning, maybe it's time for that transformation to take place. Am
Right.
I picking up a bottle of beer or a shot of whiskey? Why am I doing that? And if you have no other good answer than to say, listen, I'm trying to dull some pain, maybe it's time for some change. Now, we know that many people struggle with this, but many people don't know where to go. And you should not be going at it alone. So what would you advise anybody who's listening to this and said, listen, I've been passed over many times for positions. I'm not getting where I need to go. I feel I'm in the wrong position. What is the next step? Who should they speak to in order to really go into the self-discovery process from which healing starts?
Yeah. So I would suggest, investigating whatever resonates with you in terms of personal growth and development. I know that mindset, from my perspective and the work that we do with people in the field of coaching, facilitation, leadership, even personal growth, that 80% of success boils down to mindset. So making a dedication to working on yourself, it's going to shift everything in your life. It's going to shift your health. It's going to shift your relationships. It's going to shift your money situation, your career. It's going to bring more fulfillment in your life, because when you're working on yourself, innately you feel fulfilled. The other aspect is, who are you hanging around with and what are you plugging into? If you are hanging around people that drain your life force energy and you feel like you're constantly having to defend or you're getting triggered all the time, I'm not saying lean out of triggers, because everybody's a teacher and a mentor in the mirror. And if you're hanging out with people that are not working on themselves and not working on their spiritual growth and or personal growth and development and not going after their goals, you're going to be pulled down into that energy. And so finding a group of people, whether it be online or in person or a variation of both, that's going to lift you up, that is going to help you see when you're being a victim and lovingly giving you that feedback like, hey, you don't have to be a victim of this. You can create what you want. And I believe in you. And I believe in you more than you believe in yourself. So finding people that see you beyond what you can currently see, but they also see the blind spots and they point it out. And they're welcome to feedback as well. So there's always that. And I think with that combination, it really sets you up for success, because you're doing the work, and then you have around people that are also doing the work.
Yeah, excellent. So I think that somebody's listening to this and said, listen, something's not quite right. I go to work with Deb. What would they experience? What would that experience be like, especially becoming vulnerable and sharing?
What do you mean somebody at work isn't
So if somebody comes to you, knocks on you, said, I would like to work with you. What would that look like? What would the experience be like? What are the steps that you take in order for them to open up and start on that path of recovery?
So we're always wondering what truly they want. So everything that we do is outcome based. And so when we work with a client, the first thing we ask is, what do you want? And it's fascinating. Most people, like I said before, don't know. They'll tell you everything they don't want,
Yeah.
but they're not clear on what they do want. And so really flushing that out. And then all the stuff that we don't want, that's all the stuff that we want to clear out. Because if you are telling that old story and over again that you're going to recreate that, it's like if I said that, I wanted a new relationship, but I'll tell you everything I don't want. I don't want a guy that cheats, that's abusive, that's disrespectful. That stuff is still in my nervous system. That's somewhere in my unconscious mind that's going to magnetically draw that in. And so we're going to figure out what the outcome is, and then we're going to get the laundry list of limiting beliefs, negative emotions, traumas and dramas from the past, and behaviors and sabotaging parts of ourselves that are getting in the way of that goal. And then we're going to clear it out, whether it be coming to one of our live experiences and, having a 5-day full immersion breakthrough, or if it's working one-on-one with one of our coaches or with us. My husband and I also do high performance coaching. Our goal is to clear it's 30% in the past of clearing and discovery, and then 70%, how do we get you into aligned, coherent, inspired action towards your goals? Because once you do the clearing, once you have all the wisdom from it, now it's time to play the game of rehearsal. And now it's time to go out and create a new reality. So your external reality also reflects the new internal reality. And eventually you'll get to your goals very quickly.
Very, very powerful. Where can we find you?
So the best way to find us right now is nlpmadesimple.com. And that is a really easy way to learn all of these repatterning programming language tools that you can use to work with your unconscious mind, discover the root causes that are holding you back, and getting the powerful language to create your future and what you want in your life, and then how to communicate with yourself in a beautiful, kind, loving way. And it's you can do it from the comfort of your own home. So it's an online course, and it's also really easy to learn. So one of the things that I used to struggle with, and why I stayed in the industry, is because I didn't think I was smart. It's so funny that your podcast is called Smart, the smart way, right? And so you don't, like, if you have that belief system that you're not smart, this is set up for you to learn in the way that you learn. And by the way, you are smart and you are beautiful. Everybody is.
Listen, you're not only smart, you're brilliant. And you're brilliant
Exactly.
because you have street credibility. You've been there, done that. And that's really what the mentor part of it is, right? Is you come from a point of experience, not just somebody who read a couple of books and is mimicking what somebody else has said. And that's exceptionally powerful, right?
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your story today and being vulnerable. And I think the work you're doing is phenomenal. I encourage my listeners that if you have any inkling that you say, listen, I'm not quite sure if I'm on the right track, or there's some deep trauma within me that's holding me back, go to somebody and share your story. Reach out to our organization. It is critically important. Why? Because you only have one life to live. Could you imagine that 60% of the people go to work on Monday morning not loving what they do? That is such a waste. We have to go through transformations. I've been through 2 or 3 transformations myself over time, because these are the choices. My goals and my aspirations in life have changed, and I've shared them through my podcast and the books that I've written as well. Parting thought for the audience.
Yeah, so I would like to share from my perspective that you are worthy now. A lot of times we think that we have to get the degree, have the really good job, to have the perfect life, the perfect career, the perfect husband or the perfect wife, kids, all the things. You are worthy now. There is nothing for you to do that's outside of yourself that is going to fulfill this intrinsic value that you have to share with the world. You're gifted. I believe that you have a gift that is intrinsic to you that you're here to fulfill. that was given to you, and from my perspective, by God, that you're here to do. And figuring out what that is going to, you will find fulfillment with that. And because you have a body, that means that you're supposed to be here. From my spiritual belief system.
100% right. And I always remind people, like, you can be $100 bill wrinkled up,
Yeah,
stuck in a dog of pile poo. You're still worth $100. You
exactly.
just need to emerge from that and find happiness, and you owe it to yourself to go on that trip. Thank you very much for joining me today in conversation. To the audience, again, thank you. Take action, right? Don't sit back and just listen to this and nod your head like I did for the last 20 minutes. Take meaningful action. That's how you get results. Without actions, you don't. Go to the Apple Store, download the app. Again, in that you will be guided on how to take meaningful actions. And again, I would encourage you to go visit Deb online and go on that path and that transformation that's so badly needed if you feel you're stuck in the mud somewhere. Deb, thank you very much for joining me today, and I look forward to speaking again in the future.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.